All right, I made a video and it was raining, but it didn't end up raining on me. But so I took the GoPro and I made a video about this. And I think and I was just copying that over to my computer, and it's so huge. Coffee. Um, I think it's going to take a while to process, and so I thought I'd put this video up because I kind of want to get a message up quick. Um, so I have a 5 hour video, and I had a life-changing experience yesterday. A lot of things coming together that I've been thinking about. I've been trying to understand meaning and meaning in life, and this rethinking, going over my spiritual beliefs that I have had for a long time, which I proved with my video from 2008, where I was saying pretty much the same thing I'm saying now. And this is something I think about on a daily basis. It's really a primary line of thinking for me. And I did some things important to me yesterday and then prepared to talk to Spook. So the thing is, I specifically intended to just have a little bit to drink. I went and I got myself a bottle of scotch, and I figured I would have two drinks. And because recently I feel like I got in control of my drinking, that I had every reason to think that that would actually be how things went. Instead, this morning I woke up very confused. It's like, why are my socks still on? And what happened? I don't remember finishing the conversation with Das Spook. And I find out from my wife, she found me asleep at my keyboard, and far from only having two drinks, I downed almost a whole bottle of scotch to myself. Regular full sized. I don't know what it is, 700 milliliters. Um, and I privatized the video for a short period just to make sure that well, I thought there'd be hours of dead air, and I just left it open, or my wife coming up here could have been on there. I still have not watched it, but I did look at the end and see that it wasn't dead air. And I'm going to leave it up there because it's an experience, and it's also a reason. Evidently, I've involved you all. Now, I mentioned recently about my experiences with alcohol and how I really didn't start drinking regularly until about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. And and how and then when my daughter died, I began a thing of everyday drinking and just definitely too much drinking, and it was a coping mechanism. And I don't blame alcohol. I think alcohol did help me cope. But last night was weird and out of control, and I've been trying recently to get control of having the right amount of alcohol and trying to figure out how can I do that and why am I in this state now where if I have two beers and there's another four left, I'll drink the other four. That's an issue. So I've been trying to get control of that, and I felt that I was getting control of it. But last night, I mean, there's 5 hours of conversation up there. I only remember an hour and a half or 2 hours of it. Uh, I I don't remember uh, drinking the extra more than two drinks. I the last thing I remember is uh, being asked about um, how I was coping with my daughter, and I kind of feel like my subconscious, played a joke on me. On the other hand, I didn't hurt myself. I have no bruises or anything. I wasn't hungover when I finally woke up at 2 this afternoon, and but I had this kind of scary wake up call, and and I feel like I've passed something, some threshold and point, and I understand. Um, because you see, I don't like installing inhibitions in myself. I think I talk about this in the video I made on the GoPro. Um, because there's various problems with that. I don't like to I like to go forward. If I need to stop a bad habit, I find a direction that takes me away from it as opposed to just like prohibit myself. And so I was having this attitude with alcohol, and I didn't want to say, well, I just have to prohibit myself. And, but now after the experience yesterday, I'm just not going to drink anymore. And it doesn't feel like a promise. I'm not doing that with a broken arm or wrecked my car or vomited all over the house. None of those things happened. I didn't make a mistake. I somehow got up and down the loft without hurting myself. And, and I've never, I don't black out when I drink. So it's pretty weird to me that I kept going, and I don't remember that, and I don't remember pouring myself any more drinks. And I wasn't so intoxicated that when I started doing that, I must have known what I was doing. I had part of a barbecue sandwich downstairs that evidently I ate last night, and I but I don't have any fear of this, or uh, it's not like I am going to stop drinking because I'm afraid of that, but I do have some fear of that. I mean, I think that this is just that's not something I want to do. But what I have is a realization that I don't have to prohibit myself from drinking. I've already done the hard work of fighting the urge, and when I don't have alcohol around, there's no problem wanting to get it or jonesing for it. I feel better, and I realize that as I drink less, I have more of this meaningful experiences that I'm calling this feeling of spiritual experiences. Things have, excuse me, have more meaning, and so I have all of these reasons to go ahead and drink less. And yet, I was still like, oh, okay, so this is a good time. I'll have a little drink while I chat with Buch. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that it was with Buch, because we'd had a test call the day before and didn't really have time. But then we ended up talking a long time. We were at an hour or something, and the issues that we're talking about are things very dear to my heart. They're the importance of finding meaning in life, but also the danger of people that follow that, and how crazy or self-destructive we can get. And uh, we talked about the issue of self-harm and why people find meaning in that. And I remember vaguely last night talking about that a little bit, about how, isn't climbing, Mount Everest a self-harm kind of thing? And why do you do it? Well, because you think you can handle it. So, yeah, I skateboard, and sometimes I break my toe, I mean, I don't. I never was a skateboarder, but that kind of thing, that maybe it's related. And we were talking about, this idea of spirituality, and how I got on it is that, the video I was making that Gary, you know, uh, decided to kick me for having this conversation with Mr. Kurt. Well, I wanted to caution Mr. Kurt in his own spiritual journeys, and I made a video about accepting our mortality and the representational nature of knowledge, and not trying to get things directly, looking at things as information processing, not taking things as they appear, um, but accepting them, and thinking about them. And basically, I had some sort of a breakdown, an emotional breakdown, where on a unconscious level, I just downed a bottle of scotch, and I don't need to do that. If I needed alcohol to cope with my trauma at some point, I've passed that. And so the only thing for me to learn uh, from an intoxicated state is that I don't need that. That I can step away from it. And so that's what I need to do. I don't need to keep a relationship with alcohol and get that relationship under control. I need to not have a relationship with alcohol. I need to just not drink. And so that's it. Poured out the bit of scotch that was left over, and and I'm not going to drink anymore. I am going to leave the video up because that's my belief and my policy. It's embarrassing. It's going to be painful to watch. I'm not entirely sure I want to watch it. Um, but on the other hand, the result is good. I feel like I passed some sort of a gallstone of the psyche. Um, it's in a way that's custom built for me. I mean, if I woke up with tunnel vision or something, alcohol poisoning, then it's easy to be like, I'll never drink again, and that kind of thing. And I wouldn't really trust myself in that state. But I didn't. I woke up feeling cleansed. I think maybe I did turn over some boulders. Maybe I had to be that intoxicated to do it. But I don't need to be in the future. Um, that's it's already turned over. So and a lot of things were going on. I've been thinking about, should I take this hobby, and I think of it as political activism sometimes. Should I mean philosophical activism, and I've been thinking of having like a regular conversational show with which is why I was trying to have the hangouts. And then this is the first scheduled one here with Das Buch. Das Buch, uh, his experiences and his work on here have been, he's of a small group of people where I really grown from contemplating his messages and his persona, and from things he shared and his art and his way of approaching uh, concepts and information. Um, and so somehow I I see. I totally expected to just have the two drinks that I intended to have, and I don't know how I violated that. I don't remember even a intoxicated thought of, oh, I'll give myself permission. There was no permission. It's like I had some sort of a psychic break and I ran alcohol, and then the only cost is an embarrassing video that's up there that I could take down. I'm not going to. And so uh, I feel like um, I'm not being forced, and I'm not being fearful, because I don't like to make decisions in reaction to fear. And yet I'm also had to face a certain amount of helplessness. But see, I know I can control my drinking, and now I realize that control is me not drinking at all. And so I feel very lucky. I feel like the costs were, I got off easy. I did not even have a hangover after drinking a bottle of scotch. Um, I don't have a headache. I feel fine. But on the other hand, it was a very fearsome kind of experience. I mean, having a fear of it uh, would be a normal reaction, but I take fear head on, and the first thing I do from fear is overcome the fear. I try not to make a decision that is equivalent to just running from what I'm afraid of. I like to encounter and master it, for lack of a better word. And uh, So I woke up with a sense of clarity about a lot of stuff, and my first concern though was what the fuck happened. Well, I had no idea what happened. I didn't remember stopping the conversation, stopping the broadcast. I didn't remember. I don't think I did. I think it just ran out of time. Um, I so I definitely got a wake up call, um, and so for people that were concerned about me, then thanks for your concern. And just saw some comments of I think he went and did mushrooms. It's like, nope, that was all scotch, man. Uh, a whole bottle. Basically, I drank a bottle of scotch, and during that conversation, evidently, and yeah, I'm not fearful, but I'm humbled um, that that situation was possible, and I don't like forgetting things. I don't have experiences like that to call on, or to it's not something I'm planning to get used to. So that would be a reason to stop right there. And if fear of that situation is out of control, to and in light of thinking I was getting it under control, because materially I am drinking so much less that it felt like, oh yeah, well I did it. I did the hard part where you feel like drinking every day, and I just go, well, forget it. I don't need to, and it's relatively easy to set aside. But as I was struggling with when I do drink, keeping that under control, doing that is to not for me to not drink, right? So any alcohol is too much alcohol for me now, and so I'm not going to drink anymore. And I'm very confident in that statement. I don't feel like driven to it. I feel like um, I feel like I've got to that point, and I've done the groundwork, and I've already had broken it as a habit, uh, and so I guess I wasn't on guard. I didn't guard my own urge. I didn't guard against my own urge to keep drinking, and and then I'm here in this emotional place, thinking about my daughter, thinking about the meaning of life, thinking about art, philosophy of art, and spirituality, which is really my core philosophy, is about meaning and art. My political philosophy comes from thinking we should have a world that artists could enjoy, and my love of nature comes from the spiritual feelings I have contemplating or spending time in nature or looking at the physical laws. And all of this stuff came together, and I had some sort of a breakdown, which I soaked in a bottle of scotch, and I lucked out. I didn't even throw up on my computer. I mean, I'm not really sure how I could have gone up and down into my loft without at least bruising my knee or something. And so it was like one of these scary wake up calls where it was pure information though. I didn't have a broken toe clouding my thinking about this. Um, um, it's possible just to sign it up to, oh wow, geez, I didn't know I drank that much. Oh, well, at least I didn't this or that. No, it's a wake up call, and it feels really good because I've been spending a lot of time and a lot of effort on this. And I think this final idea that I had of drinking just at the right time, and controlling the amount and getting back to that point, which is how I drank, for 36 years. Um, uh, that's that's not where I am now. With my experiences, I'm at a different place, and I don't have to I don't have to master it in that way. I can just move on from alcohol and not have any more alcohol. And the fact that I have been clearing alcohol out of big chunks of my life, and not drinking for a week, and then drinking a few days, and then not drinking a couple days, and lowering the amounts. Um, I know what it's like to to not drink, and it's better. I have more meaningful experience. So, but I don't think that alcohol is a bad thing. I don't think everybody has to stop drinking. I think I can imagine being in a place where I needed that intoxicated perspective. Um, but the idea that I would just have a couple drinks and it's sort of a social thing, and it's a mellower, something. It's a mellower. It makes you more mellow, and yeah, I don't really need it for any of those things. I uh, so it comes as a relief, really. That really, I can master this by just not drinking. And I know that I'm at a place where I've already broken any urge to drink every day, so it'll be easy just to not drink every day. And what's important to me is just that I don't want like something like not drinking to be a prohibition or an inhibition. I want it to be something I'm doing. I don't want it to be something I'm not doing. I want it to be something, not drinking is something I'm doing. I have to feel like I'm moving forward with it. And it has to do with my view of reactionary approaches to life. And that experience has brought a lot of things into a new light for me. Not just my relationship with drinking, um, but so I see that I don't need that in my life. I don't need something where my mind is going to play tricks on itself, give itself permission to violate the plans going in, and then drink so much that I don't remember half that conversation. On the other hand, I think it's something that probably had to happen. I think uh, somehow that conversation purged something in myself. I feel really good today, um, mentally and philosophically. I feel very, I feel like the the clouds broke up, and the sun shone through, and I attribute this to this contemplating what spirituality means on this channel, because I do this already. This is already a daily thought of mine, but I think using my channel to talk about this has brought me a focus. And I think the experience yesterday was like the, I lucked through, and yet the meaning is full. If I had hurt myself, fall down and knocked my head or something, and I was dealing with a big welt on my head, and I was saying, oh well, I figured I shouldn't drink anymore. It's just like that's too easy. Once that welt heals, then you could just be back to it, and uh, and that's my general experience with that kind of wake up call, that you have to be, if you overreact to it, then you'll react and be back to the same place, or you'll find some sort of a substitute. Um, so so I feel very fortunate, and I think that it's because of this renewed interest uh, in systematizing my mortal non-material, non-metaphysical, uh, spiritual system. And and there's a clarity um, to my emotions that I haven't had for a while. So I think it's interesting that I broadcast this uh, embarrassing transitionary experience, um, uh, online, at this time when I'm taking more of my video making time for these issues, and uh, if it feels like, yeah, I should continue doing that, and I should start regular hangouts, uh, and I should continue to discuss this, and I should include its impact in my real life, and that and that it's really true that a part of it is mortality, right? Like, I think a big part of the spirituality we've had from our organized religions and stuff is placing priests, for example, above man, closer to God than man, and the purity and the lack of mortality, and that they're somehow perfect and they've achieved something on earth that really can't be achieved on earth. Um, and so, I mean, this was a pretty mortal moment. Yeah. So yeah, no more drinking for me. Um, and it's just funny to me because I was wondering, well, how much and what should I do, and do I need to just adopt an inhibition, and it's like, well, no, I got to this point. I don't feel like I can't or I'm not allowed to drink. I just feel like I don't want to. I like the sober moments better, and I don't want to uh, forget what I'm doing. I don't want to not know that I'm drinking a bottle of scotch. So, and the whole idea of mastering it just has a totally different meaning than it did, last week, where it meant to me, getting back to the point where I keep track of how much I've drunk, and I don't drink if it's not good timing, or, I don't need to. I don't feel like, I'm drinking to cope, and etc. And, I kind of thought I was getting there, but I think I just got to an emotional place in my conversation with Das Buch, where I some part of me wanted to go cope with that, and the experience uh, showed me that um, you know that's not how I cope. It doesn't really help. It might have helped at a certain point, and I think it can help people cope. I think there's some self-medication to it that I'm not going to change my mind about that being possible for other people and times. But right now, I'm at a point where, in order to deal with my remaining feelings about life, my daughter, and work, and projects, and philosophy, and art, um, I need to apply this 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 sense of meaning, right? Which I'm thinking is related to this spiritual feeling. Maybe it just is the feeling that something has meanings. Maybe that is the spiritual feeling, and that's what I need to embrace to cope. Um, I need to continue to find the meaning, and I can't really find meaning in memories that I've lost, that I don't have, right? Except for that, of course, I can watch this video. So, yeah, it was a big wake up call. It was scary, but I'm not scared. It's dangerous, but I didn't get hurt. So I feel very fortunate, and I feel yeah, a sense of clarity, um, and sort of uh, I feel like the path that I've decided to take um, is the path, the right path. I need to take this path, and and I need to not drink on it. All right, cheers.